Welcome. In this video, I will be explaining the Foundation Computing presentation presented by me, Vanessa Holden-Bottle of Batch 5 of ICBT campus. This is task 2 of 2 of preparing my presentation. This video includes the assessment criteria to present chapters 2, 3 and 4. Chapter 1 and 5 are explained in the booklet. The following 4 topics are discussed under Chapter 2. Identify internal components of a central processing unit, explain the functions of a CPU, explain how computer hardware components work together, identify different types of storage media, and explain the use of each with reference to the purpose. Identification of internal components of the central processing unit. The motherboard. The motherboard ties the computer's components together at one spot and allows them to communicate with each other. Without it, none of the computer pieces could interact. It is also the biggest board in the computer chassis. As you can see, it is the biggest board here. Next is the processor. A processor or processing unit is a digital circuit which performs operations on some external data source, usually memory or some other data stream. It typically takes the form of a microprocessor, which can be implemented on a single metal oxide semiconductor integrated circuit chip. In the past, processors were constructed using multiple individual vacuum tubes, multiple individual transistors, or multiple integrated circuits. The term is frequently used to refer to the CPU in a system. It can also refer to other core processors. Next is the RAM and the ROM chips. The RAM is a computer short-term memory which it uses to handle all active tasks and apps. None of the programs, files, games or streams would work without the random access memory. It is also the volatile memory. The ROM is a non-volatile memory that permanently stores instructions on the computer. Next is the optical drive. An optical disk drive, also known as an ODD, is a disk drive that uses laser light or electromagnetic waves within or near the visible light spectrum as part of the process of reading or writing data to or from optical discs like CDs, DVDs and Blu-ray discs. The hard drive, also known as the HDD. The hard drive is where all your permanent computer data is stored. Whenever you save a file, photo or software to your computer, it's stored in your hard drive. Most hard drives have storage space between 250 GB to 1 TB. Heatsink. Heat sinks work by redirecting heat flow away from a hot device. They do this by increasing the device's surface area. In order for heat sinks to properly work, they must have a temperature higher than the surroundings to transfer heat. System fan. The fan helps bring cool air in and blow out of the case. 25 mm size fans are the most common. Power supply. A power supply is an electronic circuit that converts the voltage of an alternating current into a direct current voltage. There are unregulated, linear regulated switching and ripple regulated. Floppy disks. Floppy disks are widely used to distribute software, transfer files, and create backup copies of data. Functions of the CPU. The central processing unit of a computer is a piece of hardware that carries out the instructions of a computer program. It performs the basic arithmetical, logical, and input-output operations of a computer system. The CPU is like the brains of the computer. Every instruction, no matter how simple, has to go through the CPU. So let's say you press the letter K on your keyboard and it appears on the screen. The CPU of your computer is what makes this possible. The CPU is sometimes also referred to as the central processor unit, or processor for short. So when you are looking at the specifications of a computer at your local electronics store, it typically refers to the CPU as the processor. And the diagram shows the input processing output system. The input device, such as the keyboard, when you press the letter K, it gets into the central processing unit and gets relayed there before it gets processed into the output device. So the letter K will appear on the monitor on the screen and will be typed on the Word document. The arithmetic and logical unit, also known as the ALU, is a digital circuit used to perform arithmetic and logic operations. It represents the fundamental building block of the central processing unit of a computer. Modern CPUs contain very powerful and complex ALUs. In addition to the ALU, modern CPUs contain a control unit. The CU is a component of a computer central processing unit that directs the operation of the processor. How computer hardware components work together. Computer hardware and software works together. The software is loaded onto the hardware, so you see how vital each system is and how they must work together for the computer to operate. This is especially important in the case of memory modules. Without both components, you would have a machine that could not run or a machine that could not access memory. Computer hardware and software works together, and you must know that your computer memory software is loaded directly onto the RAM chips. How much information is stored and how fast the computer can access the information is determined by the software working to store the information onto the hardware. Most users never have to worry about the software outside of installing certain programs onto their computer. The same goes for the hardware. Outside of the keyboards and mouse, you really will only need to worry about system requirements and storage. You can see input devices like the keyboard, mouse, scanner, the OCR reader, and now it is getting into the processing devices like the CPU, and is relaying to the storage devices, communication devices, and the output devices. Identification of different types of storage media and the use of each with reference to the purpose. Hard disk drive, also known as HDD. A hard drive is the hardware component that stores all of your digital content. Your documents, pictures, music, videos, programs, application preferences, and operating system represent digital content stored on a hard drive. Floppy disk drive, also known as FDD. It is a hardware device that reads data storage information. It was invented in 1967 by a team at IBM and was one of the first types of hardware storage that could read, write as a portable device. FDDs are used for reading and writing on removable floppy disks. Flash drive, a USB drive, also referred to as a flash drive or memory stick, is a small portable device that plugs into the USB port on your computer. USB drives are commonly used for storage, data backup, and transferring files between devices. CD and DVD drive. CD and DVD both are high definition storage devices. CD stands for compact disc and DVD stands for digital versatile disc. You also get computer storage interfaces for handheld devices like smartphones and tablets. Magnetic tapes. Magnetic tape is a medium for magnetic recording, made of a thin magnetizable coating on a long narrow strip of plastic film. It was a key technology in early computer development, allowing unparalleled amounts of data to be mechanically created, stored, and for long periods, and rapidly accessed to. The following 5 topics will be explained for the criteria under Chapter 3. Explain how data is represented in computer systems. Explain how encryption can be used to represent data. Describe how images and sounds are represented in computer systems. Explain how compression can aid the storage of data, images, or sounds. And to describe the purpose of logic gates. How data is represented in computer systems. Computers use binary, the digits 0 and 1, to store data. A binary digit or bit is the smallest unit of data in computing. It is represented by a 0 or a 1. Binary numbers are made up of binary digits or bits. For example, the binary number 1001. The circuits in a computer's processor are made up of billions of transistors. A transistor is a tiny switch that is activated by the electronic signals it receives. The digitals 1 and 0 used in binary reflect the on and off states of a transistor. Computer programs are sets of instructions. Each instruction is translated into machine code, simple binary codes that activate the CPU. Programmers write computer code, and this is converted by a translator into binary instructions that the processor can execute. All software, music, documents, and any other information that is processed by a computer is also stored using binary. Other than binary, there is also decimal with powers of 10, octal which has powers of 8, and hexadecimal with powers of 16. There are also 3 types of translators: compilers, interpreters, and assemblers. How encryption can be used to represent data. Data encryption translates data into another form or code so that only people with access to a secret key, formerly called a decryption key or password, can read it. Encrypted data is commonly referred to as ciphertext, while unencrypted data is called plaintext. Currently, encryption is one of the most popular and effective data security methods used by organizations. 2 main types of data encryption exist: asymmetric encryption, also known as public key encryption, and symmetric encryption. The basic difference between these 2 types of encryption is that symmetric encryption uses one key for both encryption and decryption, and the asymmetric encryption uses public key for encryption and a private key for decryption. How images and sounds are represented in computer systems. All data inside a computer is transmitted as a series of electrical signals that are either on or off. Therefore, in order for a computer to be able to process any kind of data, including text, images, and sound, they must be converted into binary form. If the data is not converted into binary, a series of ones and zeros, the computer will simply not understand it or be able to process it. When any key on a keyboard is pressed, it needs to be converted into a binary number so that it can be processed by the computer and the typed character can appear on the screen. A code where each number represents a character can be used to convert text into binary. One code we can use for this is called ASCII. The long form of ASCII is American Standard Code for Information Interchange. The ASCII code can only store 128 characters, which is enough for most words in English, but not enough for other languages. If you want to use accents in European languages or larger alphabets such as Cyrillic, which is the Russian alphabet, and Chinese Mandarin, then more characters are needed. Therefore, another code called Unicode was created. This meant that computers could be used by people using different languages. ASCII versus Unicode. A character encoding standard for electronic communication, whilst for Unicode, a computing industry standard for consistent encoding, representation, and handling of text expressed in most of the world's writing systems. ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange, whereas for Unicode it stands for Universal Character Set. The ASCII supports 128 characters, whereas Unicode supports a wide range of characters. The ASCII uses 7 bits to represent a character. Unicode uses the 8 bits, 16 bits, or 32 bits, depending on the encoding type. The ASCII requires less space, whereas Unicode requires more space. How compression can aid the storage of data, images, or sounds. Large files take a lot longer to download or upload, which leads to web pages, songs and videos that take longer to load and play when using the internet. Compression addresses these issues. Any kind of data can be compressed. There are 2 main types of compression, lossy and lossless. In lossy compression, it removes some of the file's original data in order to reduce the file size. This might mean reducing the numbers of colors in an image or reducing the number of samples in a sound file. This can result in a small loss of quality of an image or sound file. A popular lossy compression method for images is the JPEG, which is why most images on the internet are JPEG images. A popular lossy compression method for sounds is MP3. Once a file has been compressed using lossy compression, the discarded file cannot be retrieved again. Lossless compression. Lossless compression doesn't reduce the quality of the file at all. No data is lost, so lossless compression allows a file to be recreated exactly as it was when originally created. There are various algorithms for doing this, usually by looking for patterns in the data that are repeated. Zip files are an example of lossless compression. The space savings of lossless compression are not as good as they are with lossy compression. The purpose of logic gates. Logic gates are used to make decisions so that electrical outputs only turn on when the correct logic sequence has been applied. Each logic gate has a name that helps to describe how different inputs will determine the possible outputs. To fully understand how a logic gate works, the table of logic possibilities needs to be studied. This table is called a truth table and is used when planning and designing which logic gates to use. If a NOT gate is added to the output of an AND or OR gate, then the output of these new gates will be the opposite of the original AND or OR gate. Logic gates can be combined in many ways to work out what the final output will be. The truth tables must be used to track the outputs and inputs along the combination of logic gates, like working out a puzzle. For the AND gate, output is at logic 1 when and only when all its inputs are at logic 1. Otherwise, the output is at logic 0. For the OR gate, output is at logic 1 when one or more are at logic 1. If all inputs are at logic 0, output is at logic 0. For the NAND gate, output is at logic 0 when and only when all its inputs are at logic 1. Otherwise, the output is at logic 1. For the NOR gate, output is at logic 0 when one or more of its inputs are at logic 1. If all the inputs are at logic 0, the output is at logic 1. For the XOR gate, output is at logic 1 when one and only one of its inputs is at logic 1. Otherwise, it is logic 0. For the XNOR gate, output is at logic 0 when one and only one of its inputs is at logic 1. Otherwise, it is logic 1. Similar to the XOR gate but inverted. For the NOT gate, output is at logic 0 when its only input is at logic 1. and at logic 1 when its only input is at logic 0. That's why it's called an inverter. The four following subheadings will be explained in the following slides under Chapter 4. Describe the purpose of different types of computer networks. Describe the hardware, software, and transmission media used in computer networks. Identify a range of World Wide Web technologies. Describe the purpose of different types of computer network topology. The purpose of different types of computer networks. PAN, a personal area network, is a computer network for interconnecting electronic devices within an individual person's workspace. LAN, a local area network, is a computer network that interconnects computers within a limited area, such as a residence, school, laboratory, university campus, or office building. MAN, a metropolitan area network, is a computer network that interconnects users with computer resources in a geographic region of the size of a metropolitan area. WAN, a wide area network, is a telecommunications network that extends over a large geographic area for the primary purpose of computer networking. Wide area networks are often established with leased telecommunication circuits. There are also other networks such as VLAN, Wireless Local Area Network, CAN, Campus Area Network, SAN, Storage Area Network, and System Area Network, and POLAN, Passive Optical Local Area Network, EPN, Enterprise Private Network, and VPN, Virtual Private Network. The hardware, software, and transmission media used in computer networks. Hardware used in computer networks. Network cables. Twisted pair cable. The shielded twisted pair and unshielded twisted pair types. Straight cabling. Crossover cabling. Coaxial cabling. Fiber optic cable. Routers, repeaters, hubs and switches. Bridges, gateways, and network interface cards. Repeaters in telecommunications is an electronic device that receives a signal and retransmits it. A bridge is a network device that connects multiple LANs together to form a larger LAN. The process of aggregating networks is called network bridging. A gateway is a network node used in telecommunications that connects two networks with different transmission protocols. The differences between routers, switches, and hubs. Network adapter. The network adapter is often referred to as a network interface card. Nowadays, the network adapter is integrated into the motherboard. Laptops are more likely to have a wireless network interface. No computer can connect to a network without a network adapter. Each adapter has a unique serial number, which provides its MAC address. The MAC address is the physical location of the computer in the network. Software used in computer networks. Communication modes. Simplex refers to communication that occurs in one direction only, like broadcasting, keyboard, and traditional monitors. Duplex communication system is a point-to-point system composed of two connected parties or devices that can communicate with one another in both directions. Half-duplex system provides communication in both directions, but only one direction at a time. Once a party begins receiving a signal, it must wait for the transmitter to stop transmitting before replying. For example, walkie-talkie. Full duplex system, sometimes called double duplex, allows communication in both directions. Unlike half duplex, allows this to happen simultaneously. For example, allow both callers to speak and be heard at the same time. For example, again, landline telephone networks. Types of signals. A signal is a physical form of data. It is an electrical or electromagnetic current that is used for carrying data from one device or network to another. Two nodes in a communication system exchange data in the form of signals. Analog signal. It is a continuous electrical signal in the form of waves. Carrier waves. Telephone lines is the most commonly used media for analog signals. The number of times a wave repeats during a specific time interval is known as frequency. The height of a wave within a given period of time is known as amplitude. Digital signal is a sequence of voltage represented in a binary form, are in the form of electrical pulses of on and off, are fast and efficient. They provide low error rates, high transmission speed, and high quality voice transmission. All data communication between the computers is in digital form. Firewalls. A software or hardware based network security system that controls the incoming and outgoing network traffic based on applied rule set. A firewall establishes a barrier between a trusted secure internal network and another network, for example the internet. Many personal computers include software-based firewalls. In the diagram, you will see a hacker trying to hack into the user's network. There are three main types of hackers: white hat hackers, black hat hackers, and grey hat hackers. A white hat hacker is an authorized or certified to hack the systems, whereas black hat hackers does illegal hacking to destroy computer systems and steal data. Grey hat hackers, they do not want to rob people or want to help people in particular, they just hack to have a fun hacking experience. Transmission media used in computer networks: copper, fiber, and air, with electrical signals, with light signals, and with radio frequency signals. Signals have a bandwidth, measured in hertz. Transmission media have a bandwidth. Signal bandwidth is lesser compared to transmission bandwidth. Cables. The most common standard for network cable is the Ethernet standard. Was originally created by Xerox, but is now managed by the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, IEEE. The IEEE defines a variety of standards with different types of media, including fiber optic and unshielded twisted pair. UTP is the most common cable type in use in networks. Twisted pair cable. It is a type of ordinary wiring which connects home and many business computers to the telephone company. It is made by putting two separate insulated wires together in a twisted pattern and running them parallel to each other. It helps to reduce crosstalk or electromagnetic induction between pairs of wires. Twisted pair cable is suitable for transferring balanced differential signals. The method of transmitting signals dates back to the early days of the telegraph and radio. There are two common types of twisted pair cables: shielded twisted pair cable and unshielded twisted pair cable. Shielded twisted pair cable is available for token ring networks. Unshielded twisted pair cable is more suitable for Ethernet networks, most commonly used in local area networks. The most common UTP cable types applied in Ethernet network are Cat5e, Cat6a, and Cat7 cables, etc. Straight cabling. You usually use straight cables to connect different types of devices. This type of cable will be used most of the time and can be used to connect a computer to a switch or hub's normal port, connect a computer to a cable or DSL modem's LAN port, or connect a router's WAN port to a cable or DSL modem's LAN port, connect a router's LAN port to a switch or hub's uplink port, normally used for expanding networks. Connect two switches or hubs with one of the switch or hub's using an uplink port and the other one using normal port. Crossover cabling. Crossover cable is usually used to connect same type of devices. A crossover cable can be used to connect two computers directly, or connect a router's LAN port to a switch or hub's normal port, normally used for expanding networks, or connect two switches or hubs using normal port in both switches and hubs. Coaxial cable is a type of copper cable, has an inner conductor surrounded by a foam insulation symmetrically wrapped by a woven bladed metal shield, then covered by in plastic. This unique design allows coaxial cable to be installed next to metal objects such as gutters without any power losses that occur in other types of transmission lines. The coaxial cable acts as a high-frequency transmission cable made up of a single solid copper core, and compared to twisted pair cable, it has 80 times or more transmission capability, is mainly adopted in connecting radio transmitters and receivers with their antennas, computer network connections, distributing cable television signals. Fiber optic cable. Fiber optic cable consists of a bundle of glass threads, each of which is capable of transmitting messages modulated onto light waves. Fiber optic cable has a complicated design and structure. It has an outer optical casing that surrounds the light and traps it within a central core. The inside of the cable, the core, must configured in two different ways: single mode and multi-mode. Identification of a range of World Wide Web technologies. What is Internet? It is a group of connected networks all over the world, originated in 1967 by the US Department of Defense to interconnect their networks, which were in different locations. Expanded to some universities of USA later. Finally, it was expanded to millions of networks all over the world. It is a public network. If a network is not directly connected to the internet, it is called a private network. If it is directly connected to the internet, it will become a part of the internet. Public networks have to follow the internet standards. In a private network, it is not mandatory to follow the internet standards. Internet Society. It is an international non-profit organization formed in 1992. It provides support for the internet standards, promotes research and other development activities related to the internet, supporting administrative bodies, IAB, IETF, IANA, Internet Architecture Board, technical advisor to the ISOC, accomplish it through IRTF and IETF. Internet standards. Internet standards are continuously developed. Specifications of a standard begins as an Internet draft. Draft published as a request for comment, RFC, upon recommendation from the Internet authorities. Each RFC is assigned a number and made available to all interested parties. After several processes, an RFC will become a permanent standard of Internet. Need of standards. To ensure interoperability between different types of networks and equipment, connectivity, communication, modular development, and expandability. Internet Engineering Task Force, or IETF, responsible for identifying operational problems and solutions to those problems, develops and reviews specifications of Internet standards. Internet Research Task Force, responsible for long-term research topics related to Internet protocols, applications, architecture, and technology. Internet protocols. Protocol is an agreed set of rules laid down in order to facilitate exchange of information. Network layer, IP. Transport layer, TCP and UDP. Application layer, HTTP, SMTP, FTP, TFTP, and Telnet. You also get the physical network layer, the Ethernet, ATM, and DECnet. Types of computer networks. Personal area networks. A computer network used for data transmission among devices such as computers, telephones, and personal digital assistants. PANs can be used for communication among the personal devices themselves. Intrapersonal communication, or for connecting to a higher level network and the internet, an uplink. Local area network. A LAN is a network that connects computers and other devices in a relatively small area, typically a single building or a group of buildings. Most LANs connect workstations and personal computers and enable users to access data and devices. For example, printers and modems, anywhere on the network. Metropolitan area network. A MAN is a computer networking which two or more computers or communicating devices or networks which are geographically separated but in same metropolitan city and are connected to each other are said to be connected on MAN. Metropolitan limits are determined by local municipal corporations. The larger city, bigger the MAN. Smaller the metro city, smaller the MAN. Wide area network. A WAN is a network that covers a broad area using leased telecommunication lines. Wireless networks. A wireless network is any type of computer network that uses wireless data connections for connecting network nodes. Types of wireless networks. Wireless PAN. Interconnect devices within a relatively small area. Wireless LAN. A wireless local area network. Wireless mesh network. A wireless mesh network is a wireless network made up of radio nodes organized in a mesh topology. Wireless MAN. Wireless metropolitan area networks are a type of wireless network that connects several wireless LANs. Wireless WAN. Wireless networks that typically cover large areas. Here are three diagrams depicting wireless mesh network, wireless metropolitan area network, and wireless wide area network. Intranet and extranet. Intranet. This is a network that is not available to the world outside of the intranet. If the intranet network is connected to the internet will reside behind a firewall, and if it allows access from the internet, will be an extranet. The firewall helps to control access between the intranet and internet, to permit access to the internet only to people who are members of the same company or organization. Extranet. An interconnected intranet is called an extranet. An extranet is actually an intranet that is partially accessible to authorized outsiders. The actual server, the computer that serves up the web pages, will reside behind a firewall. The firewall helps to control access between the intranet and internet, permitting access to the internet only to people who are suitably authorized. The level of access can be set to different levels for individuals or groups of outside users. The access can be based on a username and password or an IP address. Description of the purpose of different types of computer network topology. Bus network topology, also known as backbone network topology. This configuration connects all devices to a main cable via drop lines. The advantages of bus network topology lie in its simplicity, as there is less cable required than in alternative topologies, which makes for easy installation. Mesh network topology. A dedicated point-to-point link connects each device on the network to another device on the network, only carrying data between two devices. Ring network topology. Two dedicated point-to-point links connect a device to the two devices located on either side of it, creating a ring of devices to which data is forwarded via repeaters until it reaches the target device. Star network topology. The most common network topology, star topology, connects each device in the network to a central hub. Devices can only communicate with each other indirectly through the central hub. Hybrid network topology. Any combination of two or more topologies is a hybrid topology. Tree network topology. This topology consists of a parent-child hierarchy in which star networks are interconnected via bus networks. Nodes branch out linearly from one root node, and two connected nodes only share one mutual connection. Point-to-point topology is the simplest topology that connects two nodes directly together with a common link. The entire bandwidth of the common link is reserved for transmission between those two nodes. The point-to-point connections use an actual length of wire or cable to connect the two ends, but other options such as satellite links or microwaves are also possible. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation.